Ever planned a group dinner with friends, collected everyone's shares through Venmo, only to find a mysterious notification later saying the transfer failed? You frantically check your account, heart pounding, and see a message about reaching your sending limit. Ugh! Frustration sets in, leaving you scrambling to figure out what just happened. Building context, 010 to 030. Maybe you're new to Venmo or haven't bumped into limits before. Or perhaps you're a seasoned user who simply forgot the specifics. Whatever the case, Venmo limits can be confusing, especially when you're caught off guard in the middle of a transaction. But fear not, fellow Venmoers. This video will shed light on those mysterious limits, so you can send and receive money smoothly. Introducing limits, 030 to 045. So, why do limits even exist? Well, Venmo, like other financial institutions, has safeguards in place to prevent fraud and ensure the platform's security. Limits help them monitor activity and identify any suspicious transactions. Additionally, they might have regulatory requirements to comply with. Types of limits, 045 to 115. Now, let's talk about the different types of limits you might encounter on Venmo. There are two main categories, sending and receiving limits. Sending limits, this refers to the maximum amount you can send within a certain period. These limits can be daily, weekly, or monthly. As a new, unverified user, you'll typically have lower sending limits. But as you verify your identity and build a transaction history, these limits will gradually increase. Receiving limits, this is the total amount you can receive within a given period. Receiving limits are generally higher than sending limits. However, if you're receiving a large sum from someone you haven't transacted with before, Venmo might hold the funds for a short period to review the transaction. Specific limits, 115 to 145. Alright, let's get down to some specifics. Unfortunately, Venmo doesn't publicly disclose their exact limits. They can vary depending on your account verification status, transaction history, and potential risk factors. However, based on user experiences and community forums, here's a general idea. Unverified accounts, expect lower limits, possibly around $2,900 per week. Verified accounts, limits can increase significantly, potentially reaching $6,500 per week. Increasing limits, 145 to 215. So, what can you do if you find yourself bumping against these limits? The best course of action is to verify your Venmo account. This involves linking your bank account and, in some cases, your SSN. Verification helps establish your identity and trustworthiness, allowing Venmo to raise your limits. Here are some additional tips. Build transaction history. Consistent and legitimate transactions over time can demonstrate responsible Venmo usage and potentially lead to higher limits. Contact Venmo support. If you have a specific situation requiring a higher limit, reach out to Venmo support. Explain your situation clearly and provide any relevant documentation. They might be able to adjust your limits temporarily. Important reminders, 215 to 245. Remember, limits are there for your protection and Venmo's security. Don't try to work around them by creating multiple accounts or engaging in suspicious activity. This could get your account suspended or even banned. Here are some additional points to keep in mind. Limits apply per rolling period. The limits we discussed are typically rolling, meaning they reset after a specific period, daily, weekly, monthly. Business profiles. If you use Venmo for business transactions, consider a Venmo for Business account. These accounts often have higher limits tailored for business needs. Conclusion, 2:45 to 3 o'clock. By understanding Venmo limits and taking the necessary steps, you can ensure a smooth and frustration-free money transfer experience. So, next time you're splitting a bill with friends or sending rent to your landlord, you'll know exactly what to expect. Outro, 3 o'clock. With that said, thanks for watching. Until next time, happy Venmoing.